All right, everybody. Welcome. So, I'm really excited to be introducing this new format for board meetings. We wanted to really try to get away, find a way to get much more of conversation between people. And as we talked about before, one of the kind of issues is that the board itself can only speak through votes. And so anything that any board member says is just what they're saying. And so we don't want it to appear like if somebody up at the board table says something and that becomes policy. So this sort of conversation format, I think, is going to help us be very clear that a board member speaking, they're just speaking for themselves. And the board only will make a statement as if there is a vote on something. So through the course of the evening, we're going to hear from teachers and students and other staff members. We're going to address a whole series of questions that have been brought up through public comment periods and various social medias. Then we'll have a period where we have public comment from people who are not currently in the news community here. And then the plan is that the board will then end with an executive session. I can't say real because that is a vote. And if that happens, then there will be nothing after the executive session. So we're going to start with this piece so that teachers who want to be aware that they might need to leave early, get home, that sort of thing. So we're going to start with this piece. Teachers, you leave when you have to leave. As life is calling you, do what you need to do. Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tina to start us off.
Great. So I want to, I'm excited to be in this circle. Really is from the beginning how we've envisioned our school community in all of its different facets, right? It is a group of people in dialogue working to grow and evolve a great school in response to our school mission and vision. So this is exciting. I want to remind everyone to first take care of yourself. So if you want to get up to get some food, or you need to use the facilities, or at some point if you need to leave because of for family matters or whatever, that you're free to do that. You're not trapped here in the circle. I want to kick off the conversation. Like Jason said, we compiled some questions for this round that have come out of public comment sessions and come up for us as we moved into this year as conversation starters. We have staff that are prepared to speak about certain issues, and then the idea is that we'll open up the floor to talk about and discuss those, whatever has been reported on. So it's a different kind of format for staff reporting. We also have our new student council facilitators here too. We'll talk about student council. And we've got Matthew Perry here, who's a senior, part of our senior class, who came because he's doing his Merit badge, observing a board meeting, and found himself in the middle of a board meeting, which is great. It's fun. So to start this meeting, though, the reflection that I want to offer is that, we are in our 11th year, and we are in our 2nd year in our history where we face a budget deficit. So we've been here before, and we've always been in a situation as a small school funded in New York State on a per pupil basis, where we have to do a lot. We have a large mission, and we have a lot of needs and a lot of things we'd like to do. And so we have to do a lot with very little, and what is often a pool of resources that is not, it's not certain, right? As we go into our budget year, we don't know exactly how many students will ultimately come to the school, in September. And we also, part of that, there are a lot of factors that play out in that, in addition to, just how many students there are who might be available and at the right age to come to the school at any given time, what the other options are in the community, what are the like what are the other factors in our community? Like right now, talking to other people who are in alternative schools or progressive schools, those schools are seeing declining enrollment, and there seems to be some kind of an overall trend. Like we've had some students leave to go to ACS because spaces opened up at ACS as students went to IHS. So there's a lot of factors at play. And I think one of the things that really impresses me about this community is that we have really, with great heart and perseverance, navigated those waters, and I feel confident that we will continue to do the same. I also want to say that I never thought, like, in doing the first budget, understanding that charter schools were funded at a rate of about 50 to 60% per pupil of what the district spent, I really thought it wasn't possible. I thought like there would be no way to actually create a charter school budget without having some massive corporate funder who was going to come in and make up the difference. If you look at 40% of our budget, as it's been the last few years, we're talking almost $1 million, right? And so, but we have managed to use the resources we have to create a great school, but that's not without its costs in terms of some of the unseen stresses and strains that it puts on us as a school and our systems. So, we have to do everything a school district does, everything a high school does, many of the functions of an independent private school in terms of, publicizing our school and making sure people are aware of it. And then we also have to do all of the multifaceted demands of a charter school. So in addition to, and then there's of course our big and mighty mission where we're doing things that go beyond your conventional high school. So I just want to introduce in that way to say that we're going to be in this season starting into a series of conversations about our fiscal realities as we move into, there'll be another special meeting on December 2nd, which is a Monday, where we're going to have a report from our financial auditors looking back at last year's audited financial statements. And we'll also be looking at our quarter one financial position. And at that time, this community conversation will continue, but with more focus on some of the the financial issues that we're facing in more detail. Right? So today we're going to start with this discussion format, talking about so what are some of the things that we are doing in the face of those challenges. But to start, I would love it if we could just go around so people can introduce themselves, your name, what your what your role is, maybe you wear many hats and tell us what those are. And then we'll get into discussions sparked by the questions that we've developed for today's conversation. So anticipating that this discussion will go for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. Again, some people need to leave. Joaquin has to leave at 6:40, so we're going to make sure that Joaquin has an opportunity to speak to the question of how do we engage and maximize student attendance. Who wants to start a quick program?
Start?
Yes.
I'm Michael, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement and also a dad.
I'm Layla Livingston. I'm a 11th grader, and I'm also a student council facilitator and student. I'm Tara. I'm a student council facilitator for
11th grade also?
10th grade.
10th grade.
I'm Dave, humanities teacher. I'm teaching all 10th graders this year. New teacher at New Roots, and I'm very glad to be here to be this meeting.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Snow. I'm a new geometry and statistics teacher and new head of the robotics club alongside the youth company on the back.
I'm Kate Thompson. I'm a board member and a past parent for a new child. Still a parent, but
And he has parent liaison too.
Yes.
I'm Katie Torello. I'm the parent of a graduate. I'm the board treasurer, also past parent liaison, and I'm an accountant.
I'm Kate Bartholomew. I'm new to New Roots and delighted to be here. I teach for systems science and I'm advising the green team.
I'm Danielle Angie. I teach ninth grade humanities and mythology. I'm the lower school team leader and the lower school crew coordinator.
Joe Wilson, I'm on the board and I'm the secretary of the board.
Jason Hamilton, I'm chair of the board. And also, my favorite thing is when I get to come into New Root's classrooms and do projects on things like place-based learning.
Yes, and Hodges, principal, and proud mom of a New Roots alum.
Jackie Malty, dean of students.
Bert Aguilera, vice chair.
I'm Melissa Perry. I am the parent here.
I'm Matthew Barrett, I'm just kind of here.
Senior, 4-year New Roots student too. Yeah. Great.
Padawan.
Right.
And then Lee is
Oh, Lee's
here too.
Lee's here too. Lee's here too. So, great. So we're going to start off with some questions that are directly relevant to things that teachers are bringing forward. And so I wonder, maybe we could start with sense of place orientation.
Sure.
So our sense of place orientation is something that we do every fall. And so one of the hallmarks of our school model is to engage students in really understanding their place, social, environmentally, and also creating a place for themselves to live. So the sense of place is an orientation to that and an orientation to our school and our practices.
All right, so you can see there's a slideshow with some pictures. So a couple of weeks ago, we had our sense of place day. The lower school did some different activities, and then I think Lee's going to talk about what the upper school did. This year we decided to, I think sometimes in the past, 9th grade's kind of done their thing, 10th grade has done their thing, but we wanted to combine the 2 grade levels, offer students like different options for different activities they could do. And there was like a morning session and an afternoon session. And so here you can see some students. We had a great partnership with Cooperative Extension. So we went there and cooked some food, some healthy meals. That was a lot of fun. Here I also brought students to the History Center. The new location of the History Center, the format, if you haven't been there, you should, because it's pretty awesome. So we kind of learned about, we looked at some documents related to Southside Community Center, and then we also did a scavenger hunt, so let's see, awesome. So then I just wanted to throw some other things, some other pictures of what 9th graders have been doing, so we can maybe pause there. Yeah, so, you know, Jason Hamilton led a walking tour of, history tour of downtown Ithaca. But of course the weather was very tricky on that day. It was a beautiful day the day before, so, you know, we had like, we had a group of students who were going to volunteer at the Children's Garden and then also at the Estee Street Garden, and those we had to rapidly come up with Plan B. But I think overall it was a really great day. Students, you know, they were given choice. It culminated with them creating reflections, whether they were written or artwork, and then we did a gallery walk. And at the end of our Sense of Place Day, thanks to generous parent donations, we had snacks and hot chocolate in my room, and it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, it's great. And so I just added some pictures that I've been taking. My 9th grade classes went and worked at the Rotary Club Pancake Day, and they were so professional. They earned service learning credit. It was pretty awesome. And then you can see them, during crew, Tanya and I took the 9th graders to work at the Estee Garden, and super engaged students. It was a lot of fun. So we've been having a really good time. There's hiking at Cascadilla Gorge, and we have a group of students in the background that found a salamander, and some other people like just kind of meditating, looking at the water. So it's really great to it's great to have a sense of place day, but also make sense of place part of the curriculum.
So when I had done my walk and then we came back inside because it was cold, at the end of the whole thing there was a little bit of time left over, and I said to the students, like, do you have any questions? And Dave, I don't know who, but he talks to me and goes, why is this useful to me? And so I just kind of paused for a second, and then he proceeded to answer his own question. And then his colleagues around the room proceeded to embellish his answer. So I thought, I don't need to do anything. I'll just sit here and be quiet.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool when he asked the question and then answered it himself.
We provided a place for him to do that. So.
Other experiences with a lower school sense of place? Does anybody want to share?
Oh, I can't.
I did the cooperative extension and we walked all the way over there, which was kind of cold. It was
Yes.
cold, but then we ended up taking a bus back, which was nice. It was like really fun. We all got paired off into different groups and learned how to like make certain things. Two freshmen made brown rice. And it turned out okay. It could have been better, but everybody was amazing. Yeah. It was fun.
And I forgot to mention that Kate organized, if you know the local herbalist Seven Song, he came and did like an herbal medicine workshop with our students, which was pretty great, especially for students interested in that. So,
It was, yeah, it was pretty, and it, you know, it wasn't like, it was really scientific and you know, they were pretty good.
Yeah, I think if the herbalists were going to have a scientific approach, Seven Songs is kind of one of the best. He's extremely well regarded across the whole nation.
We also did one we had to improvise, but because we couldn't go to the gardens, we taught them how to make books from scratch and journal, and also to make books about wildflowers and local plants and herbs. So that was fun. And they did. They made and to make them into gifts.
So one of the notables too is that within the curriculum, the place-based learning is connected to things that they're learning in the curriculum. With the Earth System Science, for instance, we're learning about ecosystems and how our natural environment supports life and culture here in our region. And so these are deep dives into places that students are interested in exploring. And if anyone hasn't done Jason's downtown Italy, we should arrange that maybe for a board meeting when it's nice out. Okay, hey Lee, do you want to tell us about what upper school did?
Yeah, sure. By the way, I didn't get to introduce myself. I'm Lee Kaufman, and this is my third year here, and I feel pretty honored for the work that you guys do keeping our school going. I'm a parent of a daughter here, and I'm pretty lucky to be with such great colleagues. So that's just to start. And the learners here are awesome. Like I teach math this year. And anyway, getting to sense of place. So they charged me with entrepreneurship and activism. And so I tagged Michael Mazin to help me out with entrepreneurship. And we had a good day, didn't we?
We had a great day.
Yeah, so we started at Purity Ice Cream. And, okay, this was the end. They got ice cream because they all were behaved and listened, okay? But Heather Lane, what's it called? Is really just a great teacher. She bought Purity a long time ago with her partner. And she gave a really good story, and asked a lot of great questions from just starting out, students were able to watch her welcome people into the restaurant to even though she's the owner, she's the hostess. And so they learned how a real entrepreneur is operating, doing everything. And then she talked a lot about her business, how when she bought it, 80% of her business was wholesale ice cream. And she wasn't making any money. So she had to make a choice and shut down that operation and focus on the retail. And how she grew her retail and how everything she does is purposeful. And she walked into the ice cream cooler, showed us the ice cream cooler, explained how like this is a magnetic, like this was her year that she did $50,000 in ice cream cakes, and like just, she was like a really good entrepreneur for the students to hear like it takes work, but you can persevere. And it's constant work. I mean, 2002? I forgot when she bought it, but that's like
2000.
whatever, 15, 16 years, and how they renovate, you know. Anyway, that was a great experience for the students. And then we went over to Emmy's, which is more of like, it's a successful startup business, I would call it. Probably does $5, $10 million in revenue. But it's like still like a chop shop. Like, you know, they're trying to make it work. The operation is clean in their manufacturing facility. So the students walked in, they saw what was going on in the clean room. People were wearing, like, they saw a real food business happening. They saw people picking cookies up, putting them in. And they got like, they got a really good idea of like how the story started, which was really cool. It was quick, it was like 45 minutes an hour. And they got free cookies, and they liked that too. So twice, so they were pretty psyched. Okay. And then,
And we selected these two. I mean, Purity is a sustainable business. You know, they really thrive off of that. And Emmy's is a B Corp.
yeah.
So in both cases, they learned about how businesses are, you know, giving back to the community and
Yeah.
being sustainably minded in their business model.
Yeah. And then, what's it called? We went to this place called International Climbing Machines. And so this is more of like custom robots for a guy who's got a patent on how to suck a robot so it could climb up dams, and possibly in the future, you know, they could put it on the space station or stuff like that. So it's like,
And wind turbines.
yeah, wind turbines, like a lot of different ideas. So
He also cleans nuclear facilities with these things. Yeah.
possibly,
No,
that's scary.
that's what he does. It's supposed to go in and decontaminate. I know him.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's doing stuff that we can't do. Okay, but it's kind of cool that it's robots, right? Like so, and what's it called? So the students heard the whole how he went from this robot that didn't suck so well to the robot that they've gotten to, and the iteration of products, and saw the different things, you know, and then for some strange reason, Aaron started a robot club, and we had 10 people show up today. But which is kind of, but anyway, so that's what we did in the morning. Thank you, Michael, hung out with me, and then we came back, went to lunch, and then we came back, and it's like activism, you know, activism is an interesting one to think about how to communicate that with young adults. Because we teach the upper school students. And so I brought in Mike Moritz, who was very helpful with like helping me plan that out. And what I did is I pulled out an old letter to the editor I wrote in like 2010 or something to Patterson about why we should tax styrofoam. And that got printed in the journal. And it's short, like 200 to 300 words, and they read it. And then I said, okay, this was something I was passionate about. I don't want to critique it because I'm not a great writer or whatever. And we had a nice discussion. And like, and then I was like, okay, what's something you want to be passionate about? And so they focused on, I heard environmental, conservation. I heard some points of view where we had a debate afterwards about like, what's the point with writing things no one listens anyway unless you agree and then you just use it to your thing. So we had discussions about all this stuff. It was great. And then I was like, we decided to hop on the bus and go to the museum, the Johnson Museum, and see how the light gets in, which is something I would suggest for everybody to go see. It's about immigration. And there were some powerful things. It was a really good way for our group to connect, because that's a social justice issue. That's like something very important. And then we came back, and Mike started talking about what is the idea of a narrative, how to tell a story if you're an activist. And they all wrote something, and Tina has them all. So, okay, so we started their narratives off, and that was beautiful. So that was what I did in the morning and afternoon. And then, where'd you go, Aaron?
So we took a group of 12 students, TC3, and it was a great tour. A lot of students saw an opportunity for them to go to TC3, whether it's a 2 or a 4-year program they want to get involved in. And the tour guides and people who explain the missions at TC3 answered a lot of students' questions, and just really sparked a lot of curiosity, I thought, which was great.
Cool. And then we had a group go to Syracuse, the environmental school, which David and Sue took a group, and they were really, students were impressed with that. Where'd you go, Mike? Matt, TC3? You went to TC3. And Layla, what'd you do?
Entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah. Come on, I'm speaking in public. I get anxious. And then we had a group do trades. I know they spoke to Pete Myers about like the idea of a fair wage and labor, and like talked about different trades and green jobs. Yeah. Cool. And so that's what we did. Okay. Any questions?
Lena, do you want to say anything about your experience with
that? So I think it was a great opportunity for us to go around and see interesting ways other people are showing. And like especially how it is you start from a small, crazy, I guess, company, and they're able to make their factory, and how all their, I think, all their workers speak.
So what's it called? I thought it was Burmese, but I might be wrong. Korean is the language, I think. Yeah. Yeah, great workers.
Yes, so how the majority of the workers are from there, and they make sure they have opportunities after they come to the country. So, and also the museum on how their interpretation on the immigration status. So it was interesting to see the artwork and how it works, other than like writing.
So at the grade 11 and 12 level, the focus turns to preparation for college and career in different ways. So the sense of place activities are built around, understanding our local economy and opportunities within our region and needs in our region, as well as, what are, we have a big regional focus on great educational institutions. So, allowing students to explore, what the opportunities are for college and one of the things that seniors do are capstone projects, which are also ultimately inspired by that first grounding and understanding your place, and then working toward thinking about, like, as you move beyond high school, how will you take your place in the community, and what do you want to do with your career, and how do you want to be involved as a community member beyond your career. So, sharing. I'm going to ask the question next about attendance. So chronic absenteeism among high school students is like an epidemic nationally, and News is no exception. So what initiatives are you taking, Dean of Students Jackie Halton, to address our students' attendance to ensure that students are optimally engaged in attending school?
I'll give a little bit of the stats. I didn't have a printout for everybody, but we will, you guys will be able to reflect on some of these numbers, and if you have any questions about how I got them in the school tool or how I obtained this data, I can show you and look at it together. It's not a problem. So basically, I just want to say something about the wider context. In New York State, there is around 20% chronic absenteeism in grades 9 to 12. So students in 9 to 12 in New York State, it's a pretty big number of any school. We are about at that level, if not above that level right now. When I say that, I say that if I'm counting anybody who's missed more than 5 days of school in the first quarter, right? So we got 4 quarters. So if you add all the quarters up, that's 20 missed days, which puts you at that 10%. So the chronic absenteeism is defined by anybody who misses more than 10%. So if I take the first quarter and I say students that missed 5 days, and we say reasons could be bereavement, reasons could be family trip, illness, whatever the reason is, we'll just take whoever has 5 students and we'll count that. Because as you guys know, if you've read Every Student Succeeds Act, anybody who's not in school anybody who misses more than 10% of school is considered chronic absent. They don't consider whether it's excused or unexcused. So that kind of puts the pressure on. Whereas I remember when I first started this job, it was all about unexcused versus excused. And that is really shit. Now we're just unexcused. So we have, just so you know, for a baseline, right now we're at about probably 109 students, depending if I take the students off who are kind of in transition or haven't been coming and attending. So we're trying to keep the honest number around between 7 and 9 number of students. So the stats will kind of use that as a baseline for the amount of students. So I'll just kind of read this. The roots in the first quarter, 10 weeks of school, that's 25% of the students in line to be chronically absent if they were to continue that amount of absences towards the end of the year. I calculated this by taking the number of students. I went over there, I don't need to do that part. We have approximately 109 students. 28 students have 5 or more absences in the first quarter of the school year. I excluded a few students who have either medical procedures, vaccine breaks, meaning they missed let's say, a number of days, it's like 5 of the 5 week, but they haven't missed another day since then, and it's very myopic and around something because of medical procedure or something like that. There's been no other misses. So I excluded no more than 3 students in that for that. But 28 students, barring outside of that, we have 5 or more. Yeah, so at the 5 week was when we started looking at warning signs, right? We took the 5 week and we said, who is missing more than 5, even at the 5 week. And I took those and made those the top priority. At that time, we had 22 students. So if that stat was to continue and we hadn't had any interventions, I think the number would have been higher than 28. But given that, working with the teacher leadership team, Danielle, lower school, and Sue, upper school, and working with all the teachers, I started to kind of get a visual of what we needed to do. And we looked at the fact that we needed to write letters, 1, and 2, we need to have actual RTI meetings with the students who are missing and try to see what interventions could take place. At the worst level, there were some CPS calls. And working with those systems. In one of those instances, that didn't trigger made things different. And another one, it pushed the student away, and that happened to CPS calls. The parents get really frustrated and upset. But I think there are legal responsibilities that parents have and we have to ensure that our students are in school. And we make that very clear. I always give that warning sign well ahead of time. It's not some surprise. Like, family, you might want to watch out because here's the bottom of the lake. We're here now. Here's what we could get. So we had some of these key meetings and intervention meetings and planned with the families. Some of those meetings, Tina had, I think, 1 or 2. I did a lot of them. Teachers joined me in those meetings, and we planned with the parents. So that was really effective. And I know it was effective because we went from 22 students, and that same group of students, if we just take that initial 22 at the 5 week, that dropped to only 8 students who had continued either 8 of those students showed sorry, let me say this correctly, I apologize. Only 8 of them remained concerns, meaning they continued to miss more days. The other 12 or 14 showed vast signs of improvement and were more engaged in attendance, regular contact with the families reporting, thank you very much. I've never had a school be so in touch with us about these issues. This is great. So we saw that what I've seen more than anything, sometimes we kind of spin our wheels when we meet with kids and we say, young scholars, we say, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, and then we talk to teachers and we intervention with the student, really involving the families that are at the baseline structure of food, clothing, shelter, and have been there, and involving them in the planning process is really for us what made the difference, and what I saw made the difference in attendance. More students came up missing at that 10 week. We still had a growing number of students. That's why we're at that 28. So if you look at that initial 22, take that list down to only the 8 students, and then expand that out a few more students. That's how we got to the 28 at the 10 week. Because again, those were different students than I had initially assessed at the 5 week. So I think the plan right now is simple, that we need to implement what worked and have those family meetings and work with those students who are now missing classes. And if the statistics are a similar kind of recidivism rate with students attending, I can see that by the end of the year, I would love to see it at 10% chronic absenteeism. 15 at the highest. That would be great. I think it would be something that we as a school could feel proud of. but I think it's going to take a lot of work. I'm already setting up RTI meetings. I wrote an email to upper and lower school today to say whether it be behaviors, attendance, let's meet with parents and students and have these families get involved in this process, because I think we sometimes, again, overestimate our philosophical approach with young people. You know, we don't know them as well as the people who raised them and have been with them. And if it's not them, maybe it's the learning web, right? Maybe there's a probation officer. There's got to be somebody in this young person's life who's engaged with them in an outside of school arena to where we can support them and work with those people to help build a plan. So I think it's realistic to look at the numbers, and I'm not proud of that, right? As a dean of students working in school, I also see a method and a way to improve it, and I think our job is to implement that and take that seriously. So I'd love to hear ideas from you all around ways that, you know, myself being in kind of that crux role can support and engage in working through this. I have some thoughts about how I'm going to do it, but I'm certainly open to my community and hearing what you guys have to say about that.
I have a question about how you're helping those families meet those basic needs that, you know, a lack of those would be a barrier to regular attendance.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the cool things we have, and it's a very small measure, but I think it adds a sense that we're a school that goes above and beyond. The Free Food Friday is a really awesome way for families to get an extra, you know, 4 or 5 days of groceries, you know, in one helping on a Friday. We know who some of those families are. We connect them with our liaison, Kenny. What do you call him? Is he the Free Food Friday liaison? Is that the official title? Yeah, he's a student here, and he basically takes it on himself to meet with the nurse, and they go out to the various grocery stores and locations that provide us that food, and we fill our bag behind the lobby desk there, and it comes out for our students, anybody to take advantage, but we always have specific bags for families that have extra need. And I think more than that, I think it covers basic needs. More than anything, it lets these families know that we're above and beyond, you know, going to support you all, you know, with whatever your needs are, and we're on your team. Because I think a lot of times when people have been interfacing, whether it be DSS or systems outside of their own families, that really, school becomes like a DSS or a CPS, or it becomes this thing that's distant. When you can build that rapport to say, hey, we have to involve these systems only here, but in between there, here's how we can provide food resources, here's how we can have conversations and develop a sense of community. Yeah, I think that's one small way. I think a school can only do so much in providing. I wish we could do more. What I like to do is stay in my lane. You know, and I think teachers do that. We all have to kind of stay in our lanes. What is my job to do? To make sure you attend and you have access to this education so that you will be able to get to college or do whatever you want career-wise. There's certain things I can do and there's certain things I can't do. I think sometimes being an educator is knowing those boundaries and when to involve those resources and community resources of who can support people and those other needs. So, yeah, I don't think we meet all the needs, but I think we try to look at what those are and then find those people and refer out to, you know, how they can get more support.
I think we also give them free breakfast, you know, people get free breakfast here and free
yeah.
lunch. And like, and then they also get like a community to eat with. Like, it's not a big community, so people, you know, like, you run a really nice community here, Like, it's nice to see everybody sit down and eat with each other in different pockets in the building. So that's building community, and they're all sharing like what's going on in their lives and building friendships.
I don't know if I take credit for that, but certainly
Okay, I'll take it.
I certainly enjoy watching what you watch.
The thing I'm concerned about, when I think about attendance and how much energy it takes, is how to sustain that energy over a year. Have you thought about ways to engage others, to assist? I'm not sure how big that network is.
Well, that's why I spoke about Danielle and Sue and the teacher. The teacher leadership team has been probably one of the most unique experiences this year already for me as an administrator, and watching how they're engaged and what are the problem spots. Immediately we developed that cell phone policy that's really made a major impact in student engagement. Those 10-week report cards really, I don't know the statistics, but just talking to teachers and talking to families, you can see that there's just a difference in academic success just based on really getting more strict with cell phones and having the teachers help me with that process, you know. Because I get so caught up, like you said, in the day-to-day, just like doing, having that bird's eye vision to see is where I really rely on the teachers to kind of give me visual, and then I can support as administrator. So I really feel very supported in that process, in that I'm not just looking at it myself and then coming up with all solutions. It's really saying, hey team, what do you think? Okay, here's how we could use the administration as support to make these differences. So that teacher leadership team, I think, is exactly what I feel like is going to relieve that process.
Any other reflections about attendance, questions, ideas? Right, also, so we talked about, as you can see with Sense of Place, we did a lot with a little. And we have, one of the things I think that is amazing about New Roots is how many co-curricular activities and opportunities that we create using our small pool of resources. And so we have a number of staff and students who came today to talk about some of the things that we're doing. And I'd like to invite our new student council facilitators to start with that.
Okay, so I don't know, Tina told me that you guys might not know about student council in depth, so every grade has a couple of crews, and they're like homerooms, I guess, in other schools, what do you call them? And every crew elects one or two student council representatives, and those people are, they go to the meetings that Layla and I facilitate and bring concerns or ideas that their crew peers, I guess, have, and then bring them to student council so we keep the communication part of student council very open to have students be part of what happens in school.
So basically, student council is a place where the representatives can bring concerns from their classmates or peers, and then they can discuss it there and figure out ways they can change it or impact it to have a, I guess, a better impact.
And how do you guys get chosen?
I believe we were chosen by Tina, and
interest.
yes,
Yeah.
because she sent out a form on whether or not who would be interested in roles such as facilitating, so organizing and helping with planning, and we were interested.
So it's an application.
Yes.
Yeah, and so for the past couple of years, student council has been doing really good. Like there's they made a cell phone policy, kind of, it's called like self-30. So in the beginning of class, you take 30 seconds to finish like texting your friend or using your phone, and then you put it away. So the kind of students have been liking that. So that's kind of what we're trying to keep doing in student council moving forward, because last year there was a bit of a falling out, per se, because the communication between students and staff and everything kind of fell through. So we're hoping that this year we can keep it more open and try to really make it impactful.
Did you mention that you're gearing up for the first meeting this week?
Yes. Oh, yes. Our first student council meeting is on Friday, so we're gonna plan on what to say. We're gonna have the representatives in each crew talk to their crews and see if they have any concerns or issues
Or ideas.
Yeah, or ideas. Yeah. Regarding New Roots. We can bring it so forth and start the process from there.
Questions? Any other questions about student council? So I'll just use this occasion to say that the student council facilitators are the link between the board and the student body. Right? So as I think Tara said, every crew has a representative that's part of the council, and then the council has the facilitators that link to the board. And similarly, as we have 2 staff liaisons to the board, and then also last year we had 1 parent liaison, and I'm hoping that this year we'll have 2 people that will step into that role. And then we'll have our fully functioning sort of board community lead,
another thing about student council is we have a certain type of governance, the dynamic governance, where basically say if we just did a discussion over an issue, and there are two people on how we came to the agreement, two people who don't agree with it, we try to fit their needs as well as the other members' needs to modify it so everyone can come to an agreement. Move forward.
Yeah, proposals they don't move forward unless everybody is in consensus of it, so it's not a voting process.
With the majority. Does anyone have any more questions?
I just want to say that I'm excited to have you two, like as our student council leaders this year. Really, yeah, very well suited to be. It's great.
Thank you.
I agree.
All right, what other co-curricular things are happening?
Great, well, I'd like to, I actually added a slide on that last one. Can you see this? So I'm going to talk about robotics. First Robotics is an awesome international program for kids of all ages to get involved in building robots, learning about science, engineering, technology, and it's just a great hands-on experience for students to do. So we're going to go, there's a little video on the next slide that kind of sums up what First Robotics is. And we had it there. And if you want to click on that. Yeah, we'll click on this, and it'll take us to a link, and then I'll show the video from there.
Leland Tower in there today.
Yep, yeah, so we had our first meeting today. And this is a 2-minute video to talk about what First Tech Robotics is.
Ages 12 to 18 to program, design, build, and compete with robots.
Once you get the challenge, you figure out your game plan, you build a robot so that you can complete many challenges.
Teams use a reusable kit to program robots in a variety of coding languages.
Every year you also learn more and more about coding, so that your coding get better and better.
Personally, I do not learn hearing about it, but hands-on is just go into it. Instead of saying, oh, I know how to build this robot, I can say, I built this robot.
In First Tech Challenge, students are developing a broad range of skills.
Manufacturing, hardware, troubleshooting, but there's also a lot of things that you learn that you wouldn't necessarily think about. People skills.
Problem-solving skills, helping one another, helping other teams.
The program draws so many students that come in who just want to do the marketing, who just want to do fundraising.
You need to do fundraising because you need to buy kits and parts and everything you need for the year.
And that's a great thing that the kids learn very early on.
The model of First has provided incredible opportunities for the students to interact with professionals.
Whenever I ask my mentors a question, they always flip the question around and ask, where would you find the answer to that question if I weren't here? They slowly built my confidence up so much more to a point where we weren't asking the questions, we were just going.
Each team has to compete at a local event, win awards at the local event, and then they're able to move on to the first championship.
We walk into the room, there's that smell of robots.
There's different languages, different culture. It's just the best thing ever.
I think it's incredibly important for youth to see careers in science and engineering as a possibility for them.
High school participants have access to over $80 million in scholarships from colleges, universities, and technical programs. First Tech Challenge is one of 4 engaging FIRST programs.
First in one word? Wow.
Fun!
First is inspiration.
First is amazing.
First is hope.
Alright, so that's a little bit about what First Tech Challenge is. And we had our first meeting today. We had 10 students show up who are interested and want to take part in it. And Lee said he could help me out too as a volunteer to help our first year get going. And a couple points I want to emphasize there is scholarships are available for students who end up participating in FIRST program. And as a new school, I wrote a grant and first was able to give us $500 to get the program up and going. This goes towards registering our school, money towards some supplies, money towards competition fees. Our first possible competition will be held in Cortland, probably in January or February. So right now what we're doing is we are starting our fundraising. I'd like to raise about $1,000 to get the season kicked off, which will go towards competition fees, to go towards parks, and then further down the line, more things we need, like travel expenses or like, food on the weekends if we're having to work a little bit extra. And that's just something I really look forward to enrolling the students in, like learning all those tasks, like about fundraising, about collaborating maybe with other schools, about going out in the community and finding sponsors for local businesses. So other than that, I'm really excited about it. I did it last year at my school down in New Orleans. I have an engineering background. I studied mechanical engineering at Purdue. But my passion has always really been education. I just love education. It was really the way, an avenue for me to do something that I really enjoy and also give that experience to youth in our community. And I just feel like that's also one thing I love about this school is how small it is and how students can get engaged with great hands-on activities like this. So you might be see coming around just I started a GoFundMe account just through my little network. I've gotten about $110 so far, and so I look forward to with our powers combined, we hopefully could maybe get the money we need to within a week so we can start ordering parts by next week and get the students building robots. So, other than that, any questions about it?
Where do you find the GoFundMe?
So I'm going to share it out through Parents Square.
Make sure you tell board members too.
Yeah.
Have board members on Parent Square? No. No. Michael, board members, Parent Square. There you go.
Well, I think you don't get the Parents Square?
Did you get the spaghetti dinner announcement?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You're on Parents Square.
You sent an email list.
Yeah, right.
Well, they could have gotten that from
Oh,
the newsletter.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you-
But either way, I can help get it to everyone here.
I've seen other perspective teams, and this is so much fun and ultra fast.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the
Okay, well, I don't have any slides, but I did have handouts over there if you want to pass them around. My background is, I'm teaching in system science classes, but I'm also chair of the Atlantic chapter of the Sierra Club. So the green team this year, Tara's on the green team, so she can help me out here. We've got a small but mighty group that will be growing, I hope. And we've got some Lee and Michael Moritz and Jaquim have been coming in and helping as well. So we've got two big projects we're working on. And I think it's right our alley with dealing with becoming agents of change and focusing on the environment and climate and so forth. The first one was brought to the team by students dealing with the whole idea of glyphosate Roundup and how it impacts the environment. And we're trying to approach this in an ultra scientific and rational sense, because we're aware that there's a big corporate connection, Monsanto owning, Bayer Monsanto owning both the production of the chemical as well as the genetically engineered crops. So we're working on researching and learning as much about farming and farming procedures and the requirements of farming and what stresses farmers are under, and trying to put together a harvest dinner where all types of farmers and agricultural businesses in the community, big, small, organic, non-organic, come together and talk about farming practices, farming stresses, and, you know, to see if we can provide some type of avenue where they might begin to think about alternatives to heavy-duty pesticide use and think about regenerative agriculture and engaging with the Kaylee Nation and so forth. I say we, I mean the team, I'm not thinking me. Because there are FDA loans out there for people who want to shift away from Roundup and so forth. And it is a huge, huge issue and a big shift because it's definitely a culture change, and that's, again, change. The reason actually the student who brought this issue to the team is because of the fact that the breakdown product of glyphosate, which is a broad-spectrum systemic herbicide, is a phosphonate, and the breakdown product is a phosphate that, when it gets into the local water system, spurs algal growth, including harmful algal blooms. So, you know, and that was, so, you know, the team has been doing a lot of self-education already, and so this is issue one. The second project they're involved in is working with Cooperative Extension. Aislinn Colden is the Energy Smart Communities educator, and she's brought a lot of information about how to look at energy use and consumption in buildings and so forth, and we're using that information and trying to look at how New Roots uses energy and how we might become more energy efficient, or think about becoming more energy efficient in the future, especially in light of working towards becoming part of the 2030 district and with the Green New Deal and everything. And there are a lot of things to consider. So far, the one thing we have done is count the number of light bulbs in the school. And, you know, and that's a big thing. And we'll have to look at things like, you know, the other ways electricity is used and where energy loss is happening, and, you know, that type of thing. And we also recognize that, you know, we don't own this building, somebody else does, but at least if we could prepare a basic, you know, report. Obviously, we're not energy audit professionals, but that would give some information. Other possibilities that we've bounced around are some invasive species control issues in the spring. And also something about a vertical permaculture garden in and around the school. And also that we've already done this, but becoming more involved in working with the Sunrise Movement. For instance, there's going to be another climate strike on December 6th, global climate strike. We don't have Greta in the States this time, but it's going to happen nonetheless. And there was a meeting here last night when this was discussed with and that was a lot in a very short period of time, and more is on the handout. But I'd welcome that.
Questions, discussion, Tara, do you want to say?
Tara, saying anything about?
You said, like, you kept talking, I was like, oh, maybe I can add something to this, and then you
I'm
say
sorry.
what I was thinking. No, it's fine. No, no, yeah. So for the light bulb thing, we're trying to switch to LED lights, and so a big thing that we're trying to do is keeping things like making sure it's like factual and making sure we have like numbers and everything so that we can present it to the owner of the Clinton building so that hopefully he will try to like rethink the way that we are using the energy here. And like I know he just repainted the whole Clinton building and did a lot of renovations, so it might be a little hard, but we're like trying to make sure it's not just like a dream and something. We're actually trying to bring it forward and make it happen.
If you look long term, there's a savings side to it as
Yeah,
well. So energy efficiency.
that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to put in like the cost and savings and how it's gonna be better.
What you should know, I'm the executive director of the 23rd District, and what you should know is that the land board, Frost Travis, is on the advisory board of the 23rd District. And the Gateway Commons building is one of the buildings that he owns that's part of this. So he's very open to this. If he isn't, I'll make him open. No, Frost is very committed to thinking about energy issues. Also, I've managed to, with our budget, purchase a real-time energy monitor that I'm working with MCCI to get installed here. It'll give you a data point every 7 to 10 seconds what's happening with energy in the building, and translates that into greenhouse gas emissions and a number of other metrics. I think that'd be very interesting, and almost have you set up on portfolio manager. I was working with my assistant director today on that, and once we get that set up, we can give you access to that, and you can take a look at how portfolio manager works. So she's really good at this stuff. She just graduated from Cornell in engineering, and I'm sure she'd be happy to come over and meet with you and walk you through how to access it on the computer and how to make it actually useful. And then we have all kinds of information about alternative financing and incentives that NYSERDA has, things that you can bring to Frost.
And I've been attending the 2030 district meetings, and if one of you or anyone on the green team would want to come with me to participate, be there, and hear the bigger conversation that's going on.
We have quarterly meetings with what we refer to as our district partners. We're the property owners, the community, and commercial professional stakeholders. And our next one is December 10th, it's Tuesday, 4:30 to 6, and it's going to be at City Center. And we're going to get a tour of the energy plant there, which is very interesting because it's all heat pumps. The only thing you use natural gas for, as I understand it, is for cooking.
That would be great.
It's a very green building in that sense.
Up in my lab at IC, I have a thermal imaging camera, which I could loan you guys, and you could use that to test where this building is losing heat. And it gives you, it's not just images, but it also gives you numerical data, so you can use that to say what heat's being lost through here and there.
Yeah, the woman from, what's it called?
CC.
CC, yeah. She was talking about these like, it's like saran wrap kind of, not really, put over windows and then put peelers. I don't really understand it, but apparently like seals in the windows, and I know there's a lot, like this is an old building, so there's a lot of grass in the windows, so it would help with the
Yes, if you want to contact me about borrowing the thermal imager.
I'd love to, we'd love to get somebody to see that building with the thermal heat pump there.
Well, you got the information.
Yeah, I have the invite. I'll share it with you, and then you can announce it at the next meeting.
Thank you. Oh, this is so cool.
Awesome. Great, well, we're a little over time on our discussion, and I really enjoyed this tremendously. I really appreciate the fact that everybody is here in this circle, and you know, I would love to, I think, speaking of surveys, I would love to send out a survey to everybody here to get feedback about how can we enrich, deepen, and extend this dialogue. What are some of the questions or topics that, you know, you'd like to talk about? We'll have some, as we go through the year, there are like a series of topics that the board addresses, you know, routinely. And as I said, at the next meeting, we're going to take a deeper dive into finances, for instance. And but we'd love to hear everybody's reflections on, you know, how was this? How do you think we can make this discussion continue and be better and deeper and more meaningful in terms of, you know, our shared endeavor to be part of the school community?
So as the tenant, you folks pay the utilities, right?
We do, actually. Yeah. In
So
fact, it's interesting because
it's one way to close your budget gap.
that's right. There you go.
Energy consumption.
That's right.
I mean, Cornell we completed a project, to give you some sense of scale here, replacing every single one of their light bulbs on campus with LEDs. They were working on this since 2014, and in the past 5 years, as they've carried this out, they've saved $2.9 million in electricity costs over that while they were replacing. And
For a year?
No, since 2014.
What did they do with the money? I think the college is doing the same thing, they're slowly replacing every light bulb. And I don't know the date on what they're saying, but that would be available if that's all they're looking at.
Well, that would be significant. I mean, that would,
All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next piece of the meeting. Anybody who needs to go now, I understand.
We're going to just take a short 5-minute stretch, and then we'll go on to public comment period.
Okay, we reconvene for public comment period. First sign up is Tim Church. So please limit your comment to 3 minutes.
Oh, I got 3.
You have 3 minutes.
No, it's okay, but if I have 3 minutes, I can tell the story about when we got, the charter was submitted, and before it was approved, the Charter School Institute called the board members and Tina to Manhattan to talk to us. The meeting ended up lasting about 20 minutes. Peter and Jason and Tina and I were there, I think, and we were all part of that group, but Tina kind of bragged about her credentials for a few minutes, then they asked us the question that brought us there. They said, would you feel comfortable firing your founding principal if you found that she was acting against the best interests of the school? And they needed an affirmative answer, which they got. We said that we would not feel comfortable, but that we would do it if it was necessary. Because that's our job as board members. That was the responsibility we took on. And I'm not suggesting firing Tina, but I'm just telling that story to remind the board members of your responsibility. It's really a sacred trust, and you have an accountability to Tina and to the school and to these students and these parents and the taxpayers, to all of us, to our community. And accountability, you know, it's not, the board's job is not to defend Tina. The board's job is to hold Tina accountable. And ironically, if you do that, you actually defend her because, you know, if she's got a bulwark of support around her. And you know, we get these audience members come screaming their emotions every once in a while when you hold these board meetings because they've seen their own child hurt, or they've seen their colleagues hurt, or they're afraid that the school may not be a safe place because of staff that have been lost. And they have 2 minutes to say it. You know, and I was one of those, and I've been one of those people. Those people, I'm not your enemy. I love this school. I love this school as much as anybody in this room, just about. there's at least one exception, but I believe in the school, and I know that our kids in this community need this school, but we need it to be, and I know to the potential in the school and what the school could be. So we're here to hold you accountable, you're here to hold Tina accountable, and that's all creating a safe space, a container for our children. Our children need to see adults who are competent, working together through their problems. And I very much appreciate the step you took in making the circle tonight. That was a step in the right direction. I would just ask that it can't be just to share all the good stuff. That becomes, now we're becoming familiar with lots of phrases now, right? Gaslighting. If we're pretending away the problems, the kids pick up on that. We can't do that. That's gaslighting our children, and that happens way enough for them. So somehow, we need to find a way to have the difficult conversations and include people like me, who have been on the outside, who really don't mean no harm. We want what you want. We want a safe place for our kids, and we want a spectacular, independent alternative in this community.
Okay, next up, Michael Mazo. Michael, I'll let Tim go to 3 minutes 30 seconds so you can have the same amount of time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it'll take that long. Yeah, I just want to start with some acknowledgments and gratitude to everyone that's here. First, the board. I want to thank you all for your volunteer service to the school for many years, some of you for all of the years of our school's existence. I want to thank Tina for having this vision and your ongoing commitment to realizing the vision, and this vision of raising young people to be, the sustainable change makers in the world. I think it's a really awesome thing. Teachers and staff, because we only have a few left. But Dave, thanks for being here. Thanks for inspiring students every day. I know we put a lot into engaging practices in class, so thank you for doing that. And especially as a dad, just want to thank you for doing that for our students and their families. We have one left here, but thank you for choosing New Roots. Matthew, thank you for choosing New Roots. It's a really powerful choice. And then for the community members who are here, I want to thank you all for, being here and caring. Hearing what you said, Tim, I can hear that you care. And I've sat through several of these public comment periods now, several of them rather contentious. And when I look beneath all of the stuff that's saying, I just hear, all of you caring. And Pat, I'm sorry. I want you to know that I'm sorry.
I accept your apology.
Really. And so I just want to thank everyone for everything that everybody is investing here in the school. And similar to everyone here, I really care about this school. And I care about it from 2 different perspectives. One as a dad, that's number 1, and 2 as an employee here. And as a dad, I get to see my daughter get lit up by school. Before she came here, she was just kind of going a different direction with school and just didn't want to go and came home tired, and she's got a new energy around school, and I'm seeing this transformative experience. This is her 3rd year here, and I'm seeing this transformative experience with her. And aside from everything I do when I'm here, getting to see my daughter lit up from school is so inspiring to me. And then as an employee here, one of my roles is to work with all families that are looking at the school. Talking to them, hearing about what they're going through. And I get to hear about what they're going through at their schools. And it's not any one school. There's lots of different schools. And what I'm hearing is that every school that's out there can't serve every student that's out there. And so we need options. And that's what New Roots provides. It's what places like ACS and the new PTEC and other schools where there's choice. I think it's really awesome that we have choice. So I think when I hear these stories from these families, when the students are coming in students are riddled with anxiety, depression, all kinds of social challenges. And they, and then I hear all of that, and then I get to see them walk in the door. And they walk in the door, and like they're hesitant, and they're not sure what to expect. And then very quickly, similar to what I've seen with my daughter, I get to see them like find their voices, you know, and find their confidence and find their place in the roles that they're going to have. So I just, you know, this is mainly just a big gratitude to everyone, because that all is made possible. As Tim said, this community needs this school. And that's all made possible by everyone here, everyone in every role in this room. So I just want to thank everyone for that, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's everybody who is on the list tonight. So next on the agenda, we have a consideration for an executive session. I move that we go into executive session to discuss the medical, financial, credit, and employment history of a particular person, corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. All those in favor of going into executive session, please raise your hands.
We need a second.
We can second it or not. Second? All the vote? So yes, we follow the parliamentary procedure principles approximately, but there's no requirement that we do. So if you want to formally second all motions before we vote on them, we can do that, but we don't have to. Really, it's a way to make it so that people don't want to talk about, if they don't even want to have a vote on the thing that's being brought up, then it's a way to stop the vote from even happening in the first place. Okay, well, we have agreed that we're going into executive session. Everybody in the audience, and teachers and family, we will do no more business after this. So as we come out of executive session, the only thing we will do is we will vote to adjourn. So, but obviously, you're welcome to stay to watch us adjourn if